There is something deeply frustrating about eating well and still waking up bloated. You begin questioning the dairy, the gluten, the fruit, the lentils. And over time, you become less and less certain about what you can actually eat without feeling uncomfortable. And despite all of that, nothing really changes in the morning. You have not eaten a breakfast. You may not even have had a drink. And already, your abdomen feels swollen, your waistband feels tighter, and you are wondering what you did wrong the night before. What I have noticed over the years is that the problem is often not hidden inside one ingredient. It is in the relationship between the meal, the time of day, and the digestive capacity you actually had that evening. A meal can be healthy and still be too much. It can be nourishing and still arrive too late. And it can look light on the plate while asking far more of digestion than you realize. So for the next 3 evenings, I want you to test those conditions before you remove another food. A meal can be made from excellent ingredients and still be too demanding for that particular moment. Your digestive system receives the meal as a whole. How much you ate, how the food was prepared, when you ate it, how complicated the meal became, and how you were feeling when you sat down to eat. This is why, let's say, lentils and vegetables may feel deeply nourishing at lunchtime, yet feel much heavier when you eat the same meal late in the evening, especially if you are already tired or emotionally unsettled or coming to the table after a demanding day. Nutrition tells us what the food contains, but digestion tells us what the body can comfortably transform and use. The food has not changed. Your capacity to process it has. And Ayurveda gives us a very practical way of understanding why. Ayurveda calls it Agni. Agni is often translated as digestive fire. It describes your ability to process and transform what you receive. And not only food, but also emotions, sensory input and experience. And that capacity is not fixed. It changes with sleep, stress, movement, appetite, hormones, nervous system state, and the time of day. And for many people, those changes become much more obvious in midlife. A late or heavy dinner that once seemed to have no consequence may now affect your sleep, your digestion, whether you wake up hungry, and even how much energy and enthusiasm you have the next morning. That doesn't mean the body has failed. It means the body is showing you the cost more clearly. And this is where Ayurveda and circadian biology meet. Modern biology shows us that digestion, blood sugar regulation, body temperature, and gut motility all change across the day. Ayurveda describes these shifts through the doshas, vata, pitta, and kapha. These are patterns of activity in the body that move with the rhythms of nature, light and darkness, while modern biology describes this daily timing through circadian rhythm. Around midday, pitta is strongest. There is more heat, more activity, and more capacity for transformation, which is why digestion is traditionally considered stronger at this time. By evening, kapha returns. The body becomes quieter, heavier, and less driven as it prepares for rest. So when a large or complicated meal arrives late in the evening, the body is being asked to do 2 competing jobs: to handle demanding digestion and to slow down for sleep. And that is why the space before bed matters. 3 hours does not mean digestion is complete, but it gives the stomach more time to begin emptying into the small intestine while you are still upright, before the body moves fully into its nighttime rhythm. This is not about forcing everyone to eat dinner at 6. It's about recognizing that the same meal creates a different demand at midday than it does close to sleep. And there is one part of the evening most people underestimate: when eating actually ended. Let me show you what this often looks like. Let's say dinner begins at 7 and ends close to 8. Later, there may be some fruit, a little chocolate, a few nuts, or a milky drink, or perhaps a glass of wine. That person will usually say, "I had dinner at 7. But from the body's perspective, the eating and drinking window may have continued until 10. Dinner does not end when you leave the table. It ends when food and caloric drinks stop arriving. And that later snack may not be a problem on its own, but it still gives the body another task and extends the digestive window. And alcohol deserves particular attention. The body has to metabolize it, and it can affect both digestion and the quality of sleep that follows. Now, this is not about judging the choice. It's about seeing the pattern clearly. Because if you think dinner ended at 7 when the final input arrived at 10, you are working with the wrong timeline. For some people, correcting this one pattern makes more difference than removing another food category. But timing is only one part of the picture. Even when dinner ends early enough, the meal itself may still be asking too much of digestion. A dinner can become difficult to process without containing anything we would normally call unhealthy. You may begin with a large raw salad, then add lentils, grains, vegetables, a rich dressing, and perhaps some cheese. Nothing looks excessive when you consider each ingredient on its own. But once fruit, yogurt, or something sweet appears afterward, the meal has become much larger and much more complicated than it first seemed. And every choice has a reasonable explanation. That matters. People are not doing this because they do not care about their health. Very often they care deeply, but they are overwhelmed, or they have layered one healthy habit on top of another until the larger pattern becomes difficult to see. Taken together, all of that may create more work than the body can comfortably manage late in the day. The same can happen with yogurt and fruit, a protein shake after exercise, or one of those evening drinks with milk, collagen, and honey that I hear about quite often. The body does not separate these things into health practices. It simply receives more food to process. And what I have noticed over the years is that every addition is meant to help, but at a certain point, support becomes demand. And that is why simplicity matters. And there is one more piece here. Sometimes it is not only how much food is on the plate, but also what you are combining in the same meal. That can make a perfectly healthy dinner feel much heavier than expected. And I want to take that apart properly in the next video. But for now, keep dinner simple enough that your body does not have to work through everything at once. So for the next 3 evenings, change only 3 simple things. Keep the rest of your routine as consistent as reasonably possible. This is not a permanent diet. It is a short experiment, let's call it that way, designed to give you clear information. More time, less complexity, and a clear ending. Start with your usual bedtime and work backward. Aim to finish substantial food around 3 hours before sleep. Ayurveda goes even further. The traditional ideal is to finish eating by the time the sun sets, or as close to sunset as your life allows. But in the modern world, that can sound almost impossible. I understand that. But eating earlier has been one of the most powerful changes I have made in my own life. Live with the sun, rest with the moon has become something of a health motto for me. It does not mean forcing your life into a perfect schedule overnight. It means recognizing that the body responds to light, darkness, and timing, whether or not our calendar makes that convenient. So use the 3-hour space as a practical starting point. If dinner normally happens at 9:30, you do not need to suddenly force yourself to eat at 6, unless you are genuinely someone who prefers making a clear change all at once. But otherwise, just move dinner earlier by 30 minutes and begin there. For these 3 nights, notice the time of your final substantial food. Not when dinner began, when eating actually ended. The second change is to resist the idea that more ingredients automatically create a better meal. Choose something warm, mostly cooked and familiar. It could be vegetable soup with rice, a lentil stew, maybe a simple risotto, khichdi, mung dal with rice, or pasta with a straightforward vegetable sauce. The meal does not need to be bland, and it certainly does not need to look like a detox. Use herbs, spices, and enough fat to make it satisfying. But keep the structure clear. You should be able to look at the plate and understand what dinner is. Ayurveda also gives us a personal way of thinking about quantity through the measure of Anjali, your own cupped hands. The idea is simple. The amount of food should relate to the person eating it and not simply to the size of the plate. So use your hands as a visual guide, not as a rigid portion rule. A dense meal will naturally need less volume than a light soup or stew, but the aim is to finish feeling nourished while still leaving some lightness and space for digestion. You are not reducing nourishment, you are reducing digestive noise. And the third change is to let dinner have an actual ending. Once the meal is finished, let the eating finish with it. Water is fine, and if you enjoy something warm afterward, keep it simple. You might choose cumin, coriander, and fennel tea, or just a plain fennel tea, or chamomile when the evening needs a little more settling. You can also chew a small pinch of toasted fennel seeds after the meal. They can support digestion, but I also like them because they create a clear sensory signal. Eating has finished. Not as a way of compensating for a dinner that was too large, but as a simple way of closing the meal. Dinner ends, the kitchen closes, and the body continues the work already underway without more food arriving. This final adjustment sounds simple, but for many people, it is the hardest one to sustain because evening eating is rarely only about hunger. For many people, food becomes the first real comfort of the day. Work is finished, other people need less from you, and the snack on the sofa becomes part of the relief. That is why discipline alone often fails. You are not simply removing food. You may be removing the ritual that tells your nervous system the day is finally yours. So do not wait until you are tired, standing in front of the cupboard and trying to negotiate with yourself. Decide the sequence earlier. Prepare a simple dinner, sit down and eat without rushing, and then take a short walk. If you have a dog, this part becomes much easier. Come back, clear the kitchen, and let the evening move toward rest. Without a plan, we return to the routine we already know. But with the plan, the evening begins to follow a different rhythm. Dinner, movement, closure, rest. And if the urge to eat still appears, pause and ask what you are actually needing. If it is genuine hunger, that deserves attention. But if the need is comfort, quiet, or relief, food may not be the only way to provide it. Maybe a warm shower, music, a book, or 10 quiet minutes to yourself may offer some of what you were previously asking the snack to provide. If evening food is giving you comfort, willpower alone will not create lasting change. You need another source of comfort and a plan for reaching it before the old routine takes over. Before coffee or breakfast, take a moment to notice how your body has arrived. How did you sleep? Does your breath feel fresh? Does your tongue look clear? Or is there a coating? Is natural hunger present? Does the abdomen feel lighter? And does elimination happen more easily? These signs are not a diagnosis, but they are part of the body's language. I go much deeper into this in my video, What Your Tongue Says About Your Health, because the tongue can offer useful clues about what the body is still processing. For these 3 mornings, you do not need to measure everything. Just notice whether anything begins to shift. The goal is not to score the body. It is to become better at hearing what it is trying to communicate. The 3 evening changes remain the foundation. More time, less complexity, and a clear ending. But if you still wake up bloated, a little Ayurvedic support may help the body complete the work already on the way. First, notice whether genuine hunger is present. If it's not, you do not need to force a heavy breakfast simply because the morning has begun. Have some warm water, move gently, and give hunger and elimination a little time to appear naturally. You might also choose one simple digestive tea, such as CCF tea, cumin, coriander, and fennel tea, that can be helpful when there is fullness or gas. The ginger tea may suit you better when you feel cold, heavy, or sluggish, provided it feels comfortable and does not aggravate reflux. Just choose one of these and I'm sure it will help you. However, the purpose is not to cover the bloating with severe remedies or to skip breakfast as punishment for the night before. It is to give the body warmth, movement, and a little space before asking it to process more. We live in a culture that constantly asks what else we can add. Another supplement, another powder, another form of optimization. But the body does not always need more. Sometimes it needs space. Before you remove another food, look at the evening as a whole. When did eating actually end? And how much was your body still being asked to carry into the night? For 3 evenings, give dinner more time. Return to simplicity and let the meal have a clear ending. Then listen to the morning. And if you are still reaching for food in the evening, ask whether you are feeding genuine hunger or trying to meet a need that food cannot fully satisfy. You may discover that your body is not asking for more control, more restriction, or another intervention. It may simply be asking for less noise, less demand, and more space to do what it already knows how to do. Tonight, notice when eating truly ends. In the next video, we are going deeper into food combinations because sometimes the problem is not one ingredient, but what you are asking the body to process together. I'm Tabain, Integrative Health Educator. I'll see you there.